Hello again, Transformer fans. This is Sparkster1701, and today, as we here in America get close to finally getting done with our elections, I thought I would pull out and display for you an appropriate Transformer for this season. We've had to put up with for nearly a year now a lot of bull from our political contenders as they sling their continuous shots of bull at us in the hopes of getting elected. So, with that in mind, today's Transformer will be the 1988 released Decepticon Ground Trooper Horri Bull. As mentioned just a moment ago, Horri Bull came out in 1988, and he would be discontinued for 1989, and we really did not get a replacement for him. Horri Bull is one of the smaller Headmasters, often referred to as the Junior Headmasters, serving alongside fellow Decepticon Fangry and Squeeze Play. Now, these guys really didn't make any appearances in the American cartoon, as it had been canceled by then. They did make a few appearances in the comic books, and would later appear in the Japanese-released anime series Super God Master Force, where they served as primarily the antagonists to the Autobot counterparts, their junior headmasters. As Horri Bull here is a smaller version of the regular headmasters that came out the year before, as you can expect, there have been some drastic changes done to the toy in order to shrink him down, despite the fact that these smaller headmasters were also available in box like their larger counterparts. We'll take a look at some of the cuts by starting with his articulation, and Horri Bull has very little in the way of articulation, namely in the sense that his arms can be rotated at the shoulder, rather slowly though, but listen to this ratcheting. That ratchet's pretty good on him. Unfortunately, due to the way that his transformation is, he can only bring his arms up about so far before they jam on his horns. But he also does have some articulation here at the wrist, so the hand can be adjusted downward. They really can't go too much upward due to these claws here on just before his wrist. They are unfortunately static. They can't fold back, but they can. Take this rifle out. They can be folded down, but as you can see there from this view, uncover it for a second so you can see, there's his fist right here and the hole. Put the claws down and you've more or less covered his hand. I guess maybe he could hold his gun underneath it, I suppose. That kinda doesn't look too bad, but since he's holding his gun wrong, it does have the thing of looking rather stupid. Now we'll take a look here at getting him transformed. The first thing we need to do, of course, is to remove his weaponry out of both of his fists. Before we remove his next piece, I want to show off the feature that the Headmasters were famous for, if I can get him at a good angle around the light here. Right in here in his chest, it has a small mini tech spec decoder, or reader I should say, that allows you to view certain statistics, his speed, strength, and intelligence. Unfortunately, with the way his chest hangs over up here, it's a little hard to get it to show on the camera. Now these are activated by a set of tumblers that are controlled by the headpiece. On the smaller ones like this, they all rotate at once instead of like on the larger Headmasters, where each individual bar in here had its own tumbler. In this case, for the small ones, it's been improved a bit by it only having just the one tumbler. Now we'll go ahead to continue transforming him by removing his head. We'll set Horri Bull aside here. And we'll unfold the legs to transform his head into his Nebulan counterpart. This is Kreb, who basically serves as his trainer and, of course, as his head. Not much to see here, folks, but we'll get a good look at him when we do the parts. Bring Horri Bull back in here. The first thing that we will do is we take the head of the bull of his alternate mode and bring it upright. The next, on his arms, we take his hands, rotate them backward, all the way back as far as they'll go. And then you will straighten his arms so that they're kind of equal with each other. Then you will take his legs and just fold them over all the way around, and he should stand pretty good there. Just the camera. For final bits of accessorizing, you can open up this spot here on his backside. This opens up into a little compartment. Again, it's a little hard to see due to his design. There is a whole compartment in here. You just take Kreb, fold the legs up on him, and drop him inside. And he's now driving Horri Bull. For one last little bit of detail, we gotta readjust the peg hole here in the back. It shifted on me. Readjust that. Right back here, there's a hole in between his legs. Take that as you may, folks, but what we're going to do is take this one of his guns, stick it in there, and that doubles as a tail of some sort. And there we go. Horri Bull is in his alternate mode, a bull. Although there are some that say when you look at it directly in the face, it tends to resemble one of the terror dog characters from the 1984 Ghostbusters movie. Kind of see the resemblance. Just about as ugly. The color choice here on Horri Bull makes him even worse. Now, since he's in a creature, you would think there'd be some articulation to go with it. And there really isn't. I mean, you can kind of rock the head a little bit, but if you get it up too far like this, it kind of exposes where the small head gets connected. Since the front legs are his arms, there is that ratcheting that it has, but since the lower part here does not move, there's no real point in trying to put him in a running pose. And the back legs are totally static. You cannot move them at all. But the only thing you can do is you can rock the tail up and down to adjust his aim. Now, unless Kreb in there has some sort of camera that allows him to see what's behind him to shoot, that's kind of useless, folks. Now we'll take a look at Horri Bull's accessories, and like his buddies in the Decepticon side, they only have 3 accessories, unique to themselves. For starters, most important is obviously Kreb, his pilot/robot head. Well, they also refer to him as a trainer, but I don't think that really goes into too much. Unlike the larger Headmasters, Kreb and all the other junior ones have next to no articulation. The larger Headmaster ones, you could move the arms, but the arms on the smaller ones are static. They cannot be moved. The only movement, of course, is in the hips, where you can put them in a sitting down position or fold their legs up entirely to become the robot's head. So unfortunately, there's nothing really to get too excited about him. Next up is this gun. This is his flamethrower / tail, since this was the gun that we stuck into him. It's basically a double-barreled flamethrower. Unfortunately, because of the post that's here on the backside that connects to the bull form, it means that the robot does not hold the gun properly. The wrist has to be bent slightly forward to be able to hold it. On the backside of the gun, there's a bunch of open slots, and that's about it. And of course, obviously, the post the robot holds it with. But this is made of some pretty tough plastic, so it'll take a good beating. Just make sure you don't step on it. And then lastly is his other rifle, which I just recently ordered, since mine was erroneously given somebody else's gun. This is Horri Bull's concussion blaster. As you can see, it's more or less standard rifle. Nothing really fancy about it. Looks the same here on the other side. Nothing really fancy to say about it, folks. But I do seem to think that, just by my experience only, this gun's the harder one to obtain. Since when I originally bought this Horri Bull, he had Squeeze Play's gun instead of this one. And I just recently got this one off of eBay. And that's all of his accessories. Okay, before we move on to his instructions and tech specs, I wanted to show you what I had mentioned there with the weapons. As you can see here, the left arm, we've got his fist pointing straight out so that it can hold the gun properly. But this one here, the flamethrower, it cannot be held properly. Partially due to the weight, but also due to the fact that the back end here collides with his claws. So it does tend to droop downward a little bit. Just something for you to pay attention to when you have your own. That he does hold it funny. And that is normal for Horri Bull. Now we're going to take a look here at his instructions. And this was still done in the same style they were doing in 1988. Just with the slight change to the trademark slogan of more, much more than meets the eye. It's done in purple to show he's a Decepticon. Unfold everything out. Come on, no, there's more. There we go. Alright, here's all of his pieces. And of course, view the sticker sheet. Over here it shows putting in his tail and putting the driver in, but they show putting Kreb in standing straight up. Unfortunately, folks, the hole is not that deep for Kreb to ride in there standing up. He has to be folded over, otherwise that flap does not close. And then now we go into the transforming of him. Oops, stay on this a little bit. Don't want to go too fast on you. And here we get to a step where it claims that you should be able to bend the claws backwards. This is as far back as they go, folks. I am pushing with all my might here. Well, not too much might. I don't want to break him, but they are not going back any further. So, error on Hasbro's part with doing these instructions. Turn around here and they show you getting Kreb ready to go in. It really doesn't matter how you put the gun, which gun goes where on him. And then now you see putting on the stickers. You really didn't have too many, so that's always a bonus. And we get to the last page. You'll notice instead of starting with the rub sign, it starts with the robot points. This year, in 1988, they did eliminate the rub signs from the Transformer toy line, mainly due to the fact that they really didn't have any competition anymore. They still have the ad here for the robot points for what few entries were still available at that time, and of course how to read the tech spec, despite the fact that it's still using Blue Streak from 1984. Now, speaking of the tech spec, I do have that here, badly cut off of the box. As you can see, this is the picture that would have been from the box art, and even it shows that his claws fold back, despite the fact the toy does not. It's done in purple to say he's a Decepticon. It gives his name as Horri Bull, and his function is Ground Trooper. His motto is, smash all that stands and trample the rest. A snorting, belching bully with a nasty temper. Drips grease and oil from his mouth and emits billowing clouds of noxious black smoke from his nostrils. Enjoys destroying anything that stands in his way, particularly Autobots. In robot mode, uses flamethrower tail to incinerate his enemies. Also armed with a concussion blaster. Range 12 miles. Binary bonded to the Nebulan Kreb, a former talk show host with obnoxious manners. So it sounds more like that Horri Bull here probably gained a worse attitude from the Headmaster process by being binary bonded to somebody who's about as annoying as Geraldo Rivera, Maury Povich, or Jerry Springer. Moving on to the actual specs, we put the decoder over it, and let's see how he fares. It lists here that his strength is 8, his intelligence is 6, his speed is 5, his endurance is 8, his rank is 5, his courage is 8, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 4. So he's rather powerful and can be depended on in a firefight, but he's very slow, very stupid, and very unskilled at his function. Now we get to the part everybody likes to hear. What do I think of him? Well, unfortunately, I was never that big of a fan of the Headmaster process. Nothing that any of the media, be it the cartoon, the comics, recent, or back then when they first came out, could convince me that this was a good idea. And Horri Bull here just makes that notion worse. Doesn't help with the fact that he is described, especially in the More Than Meets the Eye guides, as a bully that'll shove somebody out aside rather than talk to them. And that his only thirst in life is for more combat. It's just a shame that, as you saw from the tech spec, his skill in combat is obviously nothing to get excited over. Especially if he's in bull mode, he's more likely to charge at an opponent. And if they've dealt with him before, they know how to time it, so they jump out of the way and watch him just run past. Then they can shoot him in the backside as he goes by. Sort of similar to some of the fights in many of the modern video games lately. Case in point, some of the dodging of charging characters like Bane and Killer Croc from the Batman Arkham series. In the case here for Horri Bull the toy, he's a bottom tier figure. I mean, the lack of articulation in both the robot and the bull modes is pretty sad and pathetic. The Headmaster gimmick, while kinda cute and somewhat improved with the new feature in his chest, replacing the multiple tumblers with just one, is a slight improvement, but it doesn't really help sell the figure. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Decepticon Ground Trooper Horri Bull. If you like the video, thumbs up it here on YouTube. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Post a comment, share this video with your friends. That helps keep this channel going. This is Sparkster1701 saying, catch y'all later.